Hey everybody! Well, here we go with our notes. You are either joining us live and I will pause it for you, or if you're checking this out later on your own, just pause it as you need to as we go along. So we're going to start some notes on Chapter 3, a beginning look at cells. We will not go through all of Chapter 3 today, but we'll hopefully get about halfway done. So just like normal, if it's in red, put it in your science notebook. All right, here we go. So here we are, our first chunk in red right here. So we're just going to look at some basic things about cells. Hopefully a little bit of this is familiar to you from earlier stuff in the year. So cells, they are the smallest unit of life, and they can have specialized functions. Or think of the word jobs instead of functions, if that helps you. So a couple examples of many, many examples. Your nerve cells carry signals. That's a very special job. Your muscle cells are involved in things like contracting to move the limbs of your body and things like that. And you have a whole bunch of other types of cells that have very special jobs. Okay, so from smallest to biggest, we're going with cells, and then if you put a bunch of cells together that are the same type of cell, you start to make tissues. You put all those tissues together, you can make an organ, and then you can have an organ system. So all you need to do is this stuff in red, or if you're an arrow type person like this, you could totally do this instead of what's in red. But we do need to get you moving from smallest to biggest on how things are organized in multicellular organisms. You are a multicellular organism. So you're made of trillions of cells. Something like bacteria, that's unicellular. So that's made of one cell. So I really like this picture because it shows some muscle cells. So you have a single muscle cell. You put a whole bunch of those together and you start to make muscle tissue. You put tissues together, you can make an organ, so like a heart. And then you can take organs and other of those types of tissues and you can have an organ system, so like your circulatory system. So your heart pumps blood through all your blood vessels. So those of you that are hunters or have been fortunate enough to help take a moose or a caribou or a deer, or really anything apart that you're going to eat, if you've ever eaten the heart, you've probably noticed that that's pretty much pure muscle. It's a great organ to harvest and eat. All right, so we're going to do just a little bit of history on the theory of cells. Where did cells come from? Who are some of the big names that figured this stuff out? So title this The Discovery of Cells. So in 1665, a guy named Robert Hooke coined the term cells when he looked at cork. So cork comes from a tree. So yes, think of cork that like goes in the top of a bottle. That comes from a plant. So if you've played with corks, I know I did when I was a kid. I'd play with them in the bathtub and in the sink because they float. I didn't know till I was much, much older than you guys, that, corks come from an actual organism. So they come from a type of tree. So he called them cells because the word cell, the root word of it, it means a little room. So think of like a jail cell. There are a bunch of little compartments all put together. And so that's where he came up with the idea of the word cell. So this is an actual look at cork under one of the first microscopes. Here's a more modern one, and you can see there are a bunch of little compartments. And so Hooke did some drawings of this, and so he's really the first guy with a real old school, one of the first types of microscopes to start looking at things and trying to figure out how they're put together. What are the building blocks of them? So I'm not going to have you worry about the name of some of the next people. I don't want you to get hung up on the names of folks, as much as I just want you to know kind of how things started to get discovered and where we got to where we are today. So in 1673, so if we go back real quick, okay, so mid-1600s, all right, so what about 10 years later, a different scientist, again, don't worry about his name, it's a long one that's hard to pronounce. So he was the first one to look at bacteria. He also started looking at like pond scum, things like that. He started looking at animal blood. I think he scraped like the stuff off his teeth. He started looking at all kinds of different things. And so he started seeing that there were some patterns, that even things like blood are all these little individual pieces. And so those are made of cells too. So this is a long time ago, you guys. That's the 1600s. That's a long time ago. So we have people figuring out that cells exist during this time is pretty amazing. Okay, so about 200 years later, we have some Germans that come up with cell theory. And so they did this based on work of previous scientists, which is really how the game works, you guys. It's not one person figuring everything out. It's work built on the previous work of other people. So, cell theory. We've got three main components to it. One, all organisms are made of at least one or more cells. Number two, the cell is the basic unit of life. And number three got added in a little later. But number three is all cells come from existing cells. So if you have, okay, I cut my hand in a few places doing some work over the weekend, just some minor scrapes, and my body is repairing itself. So those skin cells that I damaged, my new skin cells are coming from ones that were damaged. They either need to be repaired or completely replaced. Okay, so I'm not going to have you write a bunch of this stuff down. Just listen for now, and I think as we go over this stuff through the semester and we talk about it all year long, hopefully we just kind of get it settled into your brain. So what is a nucleus? So in one of your cells, pick a cell in your body, a cheek cell in your mouth, a skin cell, a muscle cell, a nerve cell in your brain, doesn't matter. All those cells have a nucleus. Just think of it as your control center, and that's where the DNA is stored. Remember, the DNA is the instructions for everything that makes you, which is lots and lots of different types of proteins. Okay, what about this one? What is an organelle? The easiest way, you guys, I'm telling you, is just think the word tiny organs, and they have very specialized jobs. So think of your body right now. Okay, you have a liver, you have lungs, you have a stomach, you have intestines, you have a heart, a brain. You have all these organs with very special jobs to help keep you alive as a person, right? So now just think a lot smaller. So think of one cell, and instead of organs, okay, they're called organelles. So just think that they're really, really tiny, tiny organs with very, very special jobs to keep that one cell operating as a living thing and operating properly. So just try and relate organs in your body to organelles in a cell. It's an easy way to try and think of what they are, and we'll get into those more later. Okay, what is cytoplasm? What is an cytoplasm? Hey, there's a typo. So cytoplasm is a fluid in the cell. It's sort of like water in a water balloon. So the actual rubber balloon is the cell membrane, the outer layer, And then the liquid inside, that's like the cytoplasm. So remember, cells are three-dimensional. Think of them as kind of like a water balloon type shape, right? They're kind of squishy, and they can kind of get pushed and change their shape a little bit. And inside, it's not hollow. It's not just empty air in there. There's a liquid in there. Okay, so this is going to be our biggest stuff to get in. So I'll be sure to pause it, give you plenty of time. So we're going to look at the two types of cells. And we're going to try and not get into too much detail, because that's really easy to do with this stuff. Okay, so here we go. The first one I want you to look at, and so we're going to do stuff on this side of the screen and this side of the screen. Yeah. So we're going to put them side by side so you can compare. So prokaryotic cells, think of bacteria. They're unicellular, so they're made of one cell. They have no nucleus. The organelles have no membranes around them. Remember, a membrane is just like an outer layer or coating. Think of the rubber on a rubber water balloon. And the circular DNA, it doesn't have a nucleus to get stored in, so it just kind of floats around inside the cell. Okay, now let's move on to our next type of cell. These are called eukaryotic cells. So just think of things like plants and animals. People, hippos, elephants, dogs, cats, all sorts of plants. These are multicellular organisms. They have a nucleus or has a nucleus. The linear DNA is housed here, so it's in the nucleus. And linear, just think the DNA is just a long strand like this, okay? That's what we mean by linear. And the organelles do have membranes. So the organelles themselves also have membranes, and there is a cell membrane on the very, very outer part of the cell, like the castle wall. And then inside the castle, there's even more protective barriers. Those are your membranes. So we've already written this stuff down. Here's just one of the basic types of diagrams of looking at a prokaryotic cell. So this is a classic bacteria. Don't worry about everything on here. But here's your DNA. It's not inside of a nucleus. They say it's circular. Most books say that, but really it's kind of like a rubber band that's all kind of twisted around. It's not really a circle. So eukaryotic cells, that's like plant and animal cells. Again, just think of something kind of like the shape of a water balloon. And then you have little tiny organs in here with very special jobs, and those are your organelles. And they do have membranes around them. And your DNA is housed inside the nucleus here. Okay, good job so far, you guys. We are almost there. So the benefits of being made of eukaryotic cells. So eukaryotic organisms. So eukaryotic cells, they're multicellular organisms. The cells have specialized jobs. And what's cool about that is it allows you to grow bigger. So if you think of something like a hippo's much bigger than a human or a mouse. So a hippo simply has more cells than a mouse. Okay, it doesn't have larger cells, it just has more of them. So if you think of a water balloon again, you can only put so much water in that thing before it pops and it ruptures, right? It's got its size limit. Cells have the same thing. So the reason you don't see bacteria that are the size of this is because they can only get so big before they pop. And that's true for all cells. So you can either be made of one cell and be really small, or if you want to be bigger, you need to have a whole bunch of cells. Okay, we're not going to talk about this. We'll talk about that later. And if you're live with us, we'll talk about this. If you're not live, we've got some practice questions that are going to get posted.